Thank you very much once again. I thank you very much for coming to this post-Politburo meeting brief. We have had a long day. We started quite early, I think around 11 a.m., and we have just finished just now. It was a very deliberately energetic discussions that took place around a host of issues. I will start just by highlighting, you were all there when the president spoke. You were all there, but I just want to highlight the key deliverables from that speech. First, His Excellency recalled that in our National People's Conference, the 17th last year at Goromonzi, we resolved to reintroduce the DCC structures in our party constitution, in our party. And it's, the President then adds that these DCC structures will boost our party constitutionalism, internal democracy, and grassroots mobilization. This is very key for Zanu PF. We are a democratic mass party, and we encourage the participation of our membership. His Excellency also reminded us that in terms of Section 21 of our party constitution, as party cadres, we are expected to be loyal, patriotic, and to deport ourselves honorably in all our dealings within the party, and as such, we must never soil the name of the party. He further went on, His Excellency, to say that all party leadership, from cell leadership to the Politburo, should shoulder responsibility to accelerate the broad and inclusive empowerment process of our people. Our goal as Zanu PF is to empower our people economically, socially, educationally, in every sector of our economy. And His Excellency is basically emphasizing the need for empowerment. We empower all our people, but you'll never, there will always be people who will refuse to be empowered, who will decide to be empowered by other forces we don't know. That is their choice, but they should never complain when the bus and the train goes by and they are not empowered. Like what the MDC party did during the land reform program. They enjoined their members not to be empowered, and so the train went past them. The policy of Zanu PF is to empower all people without and irrespective of political affiliation. And this is something that I want it to be known to all our people. Zanu PF, President Mnangagwa, is there to empower all of you without regard to political affiliation. His Excellency also made reference, of course, to the fact that the social media is awash with the clandestine machinations of the G40 and their sympathizers. They are using the social media to make an orchestrated launch and onslaught against our country and party. But they will not get anywhere. They will not get anywhere, and the people will get to know that in fact they are there to disrupt our orderly development. On issues that were raised pertaining to DCC elections, my colleague here will touch on that and will give you what the Politburo has decided. The President also said something about the fight against corruption, both in the party and in the country, and that this fight will continue unabated. But his advice, which I've also been giving at all the press conferences I have been addressing, is that those who come into the know of any corrupt activities, don't go to the president, don't go to Zanu PF, don't go to the National Commissar. Go and report all cases of corruption to ZAC and the Zimbabwe Republic Police. On Anti-Sanctions Day, His Excellency, of course, emphasized, and I will read something on this one, but we applaud all progressive forces in the diaspora who have joined us in echoing the call for the unconditional removal of sanctions. His Excellency also emphasized the strides that government is making in terms of state enterprises and parastatals reform. That agenda remains a priority for government and for Zanu PF. We want to put our economy, we want to put the way we run things on par with the best in the world. His Excellency also was very grateful that as leadership we have mobilized and been able to organize full participation of our people, of our population, in the presidential climate-proofed Fumvudza program. Equally, the population should take note. The government has rolled out a presidential horticulture program. What a presidential program entails, it means to those who have been identified, they will receive free seeds and extension, in the same way that we are doing with respect to maize and small grains, and also with respect to cotton. What we are now extending it to horticulture is a sector which will receive subsidies from government. This is basically to improve wealth creation and employment opportunities for all our rural communities. And the President says the leadership should also lead by example through active participation in the implementation of programs and projects being implemented at government level, for these are indeed derived from us, the party. His Excellency also made reference to the Education 5:0 model, which, as you are all aware, when you go to our tertiary institutions, they are beginning to look like industrial parks and innovation hubs. I thought I should highlight the key deliverables from His Excellency's speech. The Politburo on illegal sanctions reiterated the President and First Secretary Comrade D. Mnangagwa's clarion call for the unconditional removal of illegal sanctions needlessly imposed on our people and nation by the USA and its allies. The party applauded the President and First Secretary Comrade D. Mnangagwa and his government for the positive steps that they have taken to re-engage with the West and their allies who have imposed illegal sanctions on the country. However, in its active support for the President's re-engagement drive, which has seen relations relatively improving, the party reiterates its position that re-engagement should not be taken or misconstrued as a sign of weakness, but the progressive and right thing to do to create harmony among nations, to be in good relations with all countries, irrespective of which political divide they fall under. On solidarity ahead of SADC Sanctions Day on the 25th of October, the Politburo expressed its gratitude to SADC member countries that have stood with us and have given meaningful and active solidarity to the party, government, and the people of Zimbabwe as they confront the illegal sanctions needlessly imposed on us for taking back our land. The President reiterated that the land reform program is irreversible, and therefore maintaining these sanctions will not change anything. The Politburo also expressed sincere gratitude to the AU, African Union member countries, to China, Russia, members of the non-aligned movement, progressive civil society rights movements in the USA, in particular the December 12 movement, progressive nations of the world, and eminent personalities across the globe who have joined the people of Zimbabwe, government, and His Excellency the President in calling out for the unconditional removal of these illegal sanctions. In particular, the Politburo has indicted the opposition and its proxies in the civil societies who called for these sanctions to reflect on 25th of October this year, and we join SADC and the progressive world in apologizing for their complicity in the imposition of and continuation of these heinous sanctions. On the December Annual People's Conference, as you may be aware, there was a report presented by our national chairman, Comrade Muchinguri, on the state of preparedness to hold the National People's Conference. The constitution, our party constitution, makes it imperative to hold the National People's Conferences annually. However, in line with COVID-19 level 2 restrictions currently obtaining, the Politburo resolved that having done well to contain the COVID-19 disaster as compared to other countries, and I'll get Comrade Dr. Parenyatwa basically to say something more fully on the COVID issue as affecting Zimbabwe. The party must not, of course, we resolve that the party must not be carried away. So in terms of national emergencies such as COVID-19, the priority of the party should be to protect the lives of people and the security of our nation. We deliberated on various options available on holding the conference, with some suggestions saying we can hold it virtually in compliance with the COVID-19 level 2 restrictions. And then there was a suggestion which carried the day. It was to postpone it indefinitely and to hold it when the situation normalizes and improves. And this came after very lively, honest, and frank discussions, and we took into account, of course, that His Excellency has on many occasions said we must put priority on protecting the lives of our people. We had then a number of disciplinary hearings. The report was given by our national chairman, Comrade Opa Muchinguri Kashiri. There was a report from Shonaland West Provincial Executive Council, which recommended the suspension of Comrade Dexter Nduna from holding a position in the party for a year. And the recommendation also had gone further to say he must be enrolled at the Chitepo School of Ideology. After consideration of this matter, the Politburo endorsed the recommendation from Mashonaland West Province, in particular to suspend him from holding a party position for a year. He will remain a card-carrying member. That is the decision on Comrade Nduna from Mash West. He's a member of parliament. He will be suspended from holding any party position for a year, but he will remain an ordinary card-carrying member. Then there was the issue of Comrade Apollonia Mujerengwi. She hails from Mash East, and she's also a Minister of State for that province. The National Women's League had recommended a redeployment from the position of Commissar of the Women's League to the position of Deputy Secretary for Lands. That is in their National Women's League. The Politburo has endorsed the decision of the Women's League to redeploy Comrade Mujerengwi from her position as Women's League Political Commissar to Deputy Secretary for Lands. Then we had another case from Mart North, the case of Tamuka Nyoni. The the provincial disciplinary committee from Mati North had recommended his expulsion from the party. The National Disciplinary Committee rescinded the expulsion and changed this sentence to a suspension for 5 years from holding a party position, but Comrade Tamuka Nyoni will remain an ordinary card-carrying member. So we endorsed the decision of the National Disciplinary Committee. Then we had the case of Comrade Chipanga Kudzanai from Manicaland. As you are aware, he was expelled from the party in November 2017 for his activities and alignment with the G40 elements, who did much damage to the party, causing mayhem and disunity within the party. He applied to be readmitted. First in 2018, then again in January this year. The Politburo, after taking into account the pivotal role that Kudzi Chipanga played in driving the G40 agenda, carrying out its activities, and the gravity of the offenses that he committed, not just against the party, but against the party and the party leadership. The Politburo has seen fit to turn down completely his application to rejoin the party. The Politburo also noted, of course, that during the G40 activities, he was put on a farm which had been set aside to establish a Manicaland State University of Applied Sciences. This was in terms of to reward him for his involvement in G40 activities. This farm had been allocated and set aside right from the initial inception of the land reform program as far back as 2001, pending availability of resources by the state to set up a Manicaland State Universities. In disregard of that decision, the G40 elements, Kasukwere in particular and Professor Jonathan Moyo, to reward him for his involvement, put him on that farm which had been set aside for Manicaland State University. And of course, the decision of the Politburo is that he must vacate that farm forthwith to pave way for the setting up of the University of Manicaland. The case of Makosini Shongwani from Midlands, procedurally, the matter came to the Politburo or to the National Disciplinary Committee without following the correct procedures. The correct procedure is that this matter should have been first referred to the PCC of Midlands, and accordingly, the Politburo is directed that this matter be referred back to the PCC Midlands province. Then the case of Tapiwa Matanga is the Midlands, also from Midlands. He also applied for readmission. Again, the Politburo said the procedures must be followed, and this matter is also been referred back to the PCC of Midlands province. There was a presentation by Comrade Mangwana, who is Secretary for Legal Affairs. This was just to inform of an intention, not yet adopted, of an intention to seek the views of our membership on the desirability of establishing a council of elders, which will be constituted, of course, by former senior members of the party. He has been given a go-ahead to proceed with that project and to report when he has completed his consultations, and he will then come back to the Politburo to advise specifically what the proposal would entail. There was also a presentation by the national chairman in his capacity as the chairman of the cabinet task force on COVID-19. I want to ask my colleague, comrade Dr. Parenyatwa, to give the outcome of the deliberations by the Politburo on that issue.